Welcome back to another video. Let's talk about cryptocurrencies today. Let's jump into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Coin. Let's talk about these four coins as they are very, very bullish, and you should probably take a look at them if you haven't already. So let's jump into that fear and greed index. We're at 48 still. You know, I thought it would have been up a little bit more. It probably will jump. So 48 is a little hesitant. And what do you do when you're closer to fear than you are greed? Well, you just hold, and that's still buying opportunity. Because if I go to the stock market right now, look at that, 76 right now. Because what happened? The S&P hit brand new all-time highs, and I imagine the indexes in the stock market fundamentally doesn't even matter anymore right now. It's all greedy. So just be careful. But if we go back to crypto, still lots of room to buy, and lots of room to grow. So a lot of these cryptos are just coming out basically from their springtime into summertime and ready to explode. That's my opinion. Because what do we have here? We got interest rate cut, and we got another one coming. So 8% there. Probably by the time they're done this year, we're looking at 6%. Okay, we're going to come down probably 1 to 2% still by the end of the year. Okay, 7 to 6%. And then, so that's very bullish. So inflation, it came down 10 basis points. So we got 2.4. So that's down. Unemployment's down from 4.2. So now it's 4.1. And then we got GDP growth up. So the markets are responding really bullish to this right now. All right, we're just headed into the Bitcoin chart, and we are in the 1 week chart. And before I give price predictions to where I see Bitcoin going, I just want to explain one thing. This green line down here is the threshold, and this blue line right here that sits at the bottom, sort of at the trend line where Bitcoin has come down to. So the green line, Bitcoin has never crossed. That's the threshold. And then we got the major support where Bitcoin came down on its bear run there and held. Okay, so it held here on that major support and actually took off there. You can see right there, and you can see where the moving average actually squeezed. They all came together, and then they squeezed out and then broke out, and then Bitcoin broke to the upside. And there was a bit of support there at 43,000, but not much, 45,000, and then broke up to that and then went to its all-time high right there at 73,750. So that was its all-time high. And then Bitcoin has fallen off that ever since, gone sideways. Has sat on this, you can see this trend line, this downward trend line. So it's actually broken below it once and then broken on its parabolic trend line, which I have in the which is basically the Bullrun trend line, which ever since it's touched the threshold one time and broken off that. So it would have been a one-time deal to buy Bitcoin right at $15,300, right around that number. Just right below $15,000, you can get it for a very short amount of time, and ever since that, it's broken out, and more than likely won't see a price like that again as this green line keeps moving higher, and so does the major support. So if we were to fall today, if Bitcoin were to fall and not break now above 66,000, let's say that was the top for whatever reason, and it broke below this purple trend line, which is the bull trend. You can see it hit here, hit here, hit here, hit here, and every time it hits, it goes higher. Okay, now let's say it comes back down and then it falls below it, just like it did back in 2022, okay, and then came right back down to its threshold. Right now, that threshold number would be sitting around 23,000, while the major support would be sitting around 31,000. So just keep those two numbers in mind, that those numbers might come into play for Bitcoin, okay? Don't think so, but that's what the history shows. Okay, after Bitcoin hits all-time high. Now, what I think is going to happen, since you can see that these purple markers, right, you got one trend line going up here, hit here already at $49,000. That was a major support and resistance over the bull cycles. Okay, so it's hit it now, and that is where the trend line also hits, and that's kind of a coincidence, because if you look back, and if I take this, and this is how I get $90,000. Okay, that's how I get Bitcoin going to $90,000, because if you take these two all-time highs back in 2021, you got that trend line going upwards, where I see the technical line hitting. And if I take this bullish parabolic line I have here in pink, and I go to the 50 moving average, which I have here on the week, that's where it bounced off of. That's where it is now. You can see 1 and 2, okay? 1 and 2 right there, bouncing off the 50 moving average right there in the purple. That purple line's the 50 moving average. You got one hit, and you got the second one hit here, okay, on the week. And then same thing here. You got one hit and the second one hit. So that tells me there's one more rise up. Here's the rise up right here. There it is. We'll go on the first hit to the top. That's where it hit. That's where it falls. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing now. Okay, so we'll take it to the bottom there, where it hit there, 49,000 to the top, hits the trend, it hits the trend line, the technical. Okay, so that's where I see Bitcoin going right now, $89,000, right around 90,000, and we'll assess it then. Okay, we'll assess the market then. We'll see if the market's in extreme greed. We will see what kind of news is out there, and we'll see if it's worth unloading our bags then. But right now, I do see Bitcoin heading up there, and I see a lot of buying opportunity right now. Okay, this is not financial advice. All right, so let's talk about the price now with Bitcoin. Resistance, okay, basically. I wouldn't call it major resistance, but it's hitting resistance, okay, of $66,000. So it needs to break $66,000 to see a gap up right to $70,000, and then $72,500, and then it has to break that golden line right there, the high $73,750. Okay, it's all-time high. So needs to break that in order to get higher in price. And the next number, if it breaks above 73,000, I would imagine would be 75,000, because 75,000 would be right around $100,000 Canadian. And that is a huge psychological number. Okay, so just keep that in mind when we're talking crypto here. There's a lot of psychology with crypto, and numbers do matter, like 100, 75, 50. Okay, those numbers all matter, and there is resistance at $100,000. So if there's $100,000 Canadian Bitcoin, I guarantee you almost 100% there's going to be major resistance there, and you're going to see a breakdown or a lot of accumulation at $100,000. So that's the upside for Bitcoin, and of course needs to break above that 66,000. It's showing some pressure there, and then so if it fails to break above that, which I don't think it's going to have a hard time now because it's above that 21 moving average. You'll see there on the 1 day, okay, and of course above the 200 moving average. Now that it's above that, I can see that the price will continue to rise and break above the 66,000. Okay, if it doesn't break for whatever reason and it falls below the 200 moving average again, then we're going to see prices like 62,000, 60,000, 58,000, and then 56,000. And then you got 54,500. And 54,500 currently is huge support right now in this trend we're having since the all-time high. Okay, so 54,000 I don't think the price will see below 54,000 in any immediate short time for a while. If it does break below that, you're looking at 51,000. Okay, and then there's that major support right there at 49,000, which it's already touched and then broken from there. I do believe that's the bottom. All right, so that right now is Bitcoin today. Okay, let's see where the market is heading with Ethereum. So before I talk about where the prices are going with Ethereum, let's discuss this green line again. That's the threshold. So Ethereum has not crossed below that green line. And this blue line right here that you see is the major support line. That's the major support trend line for Ethereum. Okay, so right now major support sits right around $2,156. Okay, that's major support and has broken off that. So I would assume that this would be the bottom right there for Ethereum. So is it a good time to buy Ethereum right now? It's very hesitant. Okay, it has broken over the 200 moving average now on the week. It's wanting to approach the 50 moving average. Now, to still worry about that 21 moving downwards like that and crossing the 50 moving average tells me that there's still a lot more volatility to the downside for Ethereum, but maybe not as much as we think. So it is, in my opinion, not financial advice, but a great time to get into Ethereum. I do see that 100 moving average moving up now, so that's a good sign, and things are moving bullish there in the week. Okay, so if we look back, first cycle there for Ethereum, as it was so new and total investment, the ones who were investing in Ethereum at the time made some major gains, but a lot of loss during that entire investment for almost 2 years. It was a losing investment till it broke bullish. Okay, so Ethereum does that. Okay, so you got to pay attention to that. And now it's doing the same thing this cycle because I believe Ethereum is still in its cycle. Okay, not like Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is now in a new cycle. I think Ethereum is kind of in the same cycle that it's been in since 2020. Okay, it's just hit a top there at $4,899. Okay, broken down all the way down to major the threshold down here of $911. So a great buying opportunity there for the very few who took that. And then it's been bouncing off that ever since and breaking upwards here, not to an all-time high like Bitcoin. So the altcoins have really been lagging, most of them, especially Ethereum altcoins, so to the price of Bitcoin. But I do think there will be a surprise coming, okay? Because if you look back at the last cycle, it's done the same thing and then broken out to an all-time high with extreme percentages. So, and then took in Ethereum assets with it. Okay, so I do think Ethereum assets are on its way and to breaking now. If we go into the one-day chart here, we can get a better view of what's going on because you can see here it's been lagging on that 50 moving average. Okay, now it's just broke above the 50 moving average and broken to a new to that support there of 2,600. Okay, so it's kind of just falling from that support, but it'll probably now sit on that support. Okay, and then it'll break above this 100 moving average right to that 365, which is, by the way, still below that 200 moving average. So Bitcoin, so Ethereum here is still quite bullish, and this is great buying opportunity, indeed. Not financial advice, but if you look here, it's below that 365. That 365 in history has shown only to come up above it and then come into a bull run. Okay. So once below, it comes up above and then goes into a bull run. And Ethereum did a super cycle here, basically. From 2020 all the way to 2022 was just parabolic rise after parabolic rise for Ethereum. Do think that's going to happen again here now. It's squeezed here in the 2023 September months. It's squeezed, made a squeeze, and price hasn't come below that. Okay, that red line there, that thick red line of $2,100. It's touched it, but it hasn't came below it. So it tells me that that's a bottom and that was a squeeze. You're not going to see those prices probably again. You might see higher, lower prices, but you may not see price below $2,000 again. Not for a long time. It is still in the vicinity of like that. If you look here, that threshold is still under $2,000. Okay, it goes right up to June, basically April, May, June. Then it starts crossing above $2,000. So there is still potential to see below $2,000 for Ethereum, but I doubt it. Okay, I just doubt it, and I do think that these are great buying opportunities. Of course, if it can go inside, in between here, that threshold and major support, that's the best buying opportunity. But of course, that was bought up there in August, October 2023. It almost went in, but then didn't. Obviously needs to break above 2,600 to see 2,700, and then you got 2,077.8, and then you got major resistance there at $2,822. If it breaks above that, should gap up to 2,900 and 3,000. And then you're looking at 3,079, 3,100, and 3,200. If Ethereum breaks below $2,437, it's going to come gap down to 2,326. And then you've got a little bit of support there at 2,259. And then you've got problems, well, buying opportunity, I would say, at $2,100. That is a major support. So that's the price prediction for Ethereum. Hope it's helped. Okay, we're going to get into Solana here and see what's happening with Solana. Do think that this is a big gap up, gap down support there of 120 and 155. So now the price is above 155 and needs to break above $161 as a major resistance there. If it breaks above $161, it'll come to the upside there of 175 and then 183. And then you got 195, and then it has to break above 209 to see higher highs and potentially going to an all-time high of $260. That's where I see Solana heading to the upside, to the downside for Solana. Okay, before we talk about moving averages, okay, I see 120, 110, 94, 78, $58, and then at that major support level of $25. Now that would be the bear cycle for Solana. See here, it none other bounced off this threshold right there, the green line, and hasn't came below that ever since, and then bounced off of the blue major support once the price is squeezed through. So that's what happened with Solana, and ever since it's been on a pretty much a tear of breaking from that parabolic breakout right to $209. Okay, right above there. So it's been going sideways ever since. Now it's probably following the cycle trend line for the bull cycle here. And originally, okay, it just smashed above this. Okay, went to its all-time high right around the 280 some dollars, and then came back down to retest that green line there of under $10. So if I take the same sort of trend line on the bull cycle, we have prices of 200 and, well, you know, right, I would say to start, because of course we're looking at cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency is flooded with FOMO and psychological nature. So $300, I would see it almost definitely touching $300. And then right up to, so if we take I guess if we take this line and this breakout to this to up here, what do we get? We would get something like from $94 to 209. So if we took 160, $94 to 209, that was almost 2.5x. So if we take 160, 2.5x that's $300, $400. That's where I can see Solana heading. In the short term, definitely needs to break above that $161 and then ultimately breaking above this major resistance right there of 209. 209 would definitely bring it probably right up to that all-time high of 260. Okay, so that's if Solana stays bullish. Okay, so we're on the 1 week chart, and just like Bitcoin bouncing off that 50 moving average, so Solana's right ahead, right side by side with Bitcoin almost on the charts. Okay, just like Bitcoin, it's now above the 200 moving average. Well, it was below it before, but now it's teetering above it. So W formation here and looking to break higher. Downside prices for Solana, 120, 110, 94, 78, 58. I think I went through these already, but Solana is very, very volatile. You can see here it's an up and down game, just like pretty much any cryptocurrency. But when it touches its all-time highs here, so it's touched an all-time high after all-time high in the bull run, but really had a hard time there. It didn't even double tap at $260. And then from there, broke down and kept breaking down very, very bearishly. So great buying opportunity down here if you never sold, and then all you would do is just bulk back up, double or triple your bags down here, and then you can receive a new all-time high. Don't think Solana is one of the ones that'll hold support through a bear run. So you just got to keep that in mind, because it didn't do it there. What makes you think it'll do it in this cycle here? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. So to all the Solana holders, just wait and see. Looks really healthy. Okay, it just needs to break 161 to get up there to 209. It might even gap up there once it breaks this, because it'll be so much pressure to the upside. Okay, we are just in Sui coin right here, and you can see what's going on. It has been parabolic ever since it's touched right there back in August 4th. 2024, touch that green threshold. That's why I have them. Okay, wasn't able to get into Sui coin because, well, I just made up these charts and I've been following it for the last 4 weeks. So I haven't been able to buy this investment or get in early, but I'm looking at it and it looks great. So I'm gonna talk about it. All right, so look at all that volume here. Look at these volume candles. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parabolic volume candles after another. Sui now has coming off of its all-time high, $2.17, and breaking above it. Like, see that 1 week? It's a 1 week candle just exploding above it. And then now hitting a top sort of $2.35. That's where the resistance happened to be. Okay, and so we're going to go into the 1 day chart. We're going to look at that, and it was probably because it hit some sort of a trend line. That's probably what happened, like a technical trend line. So I haven't gone into great detail with Sui coin, but do think, okay, it's going to make its way up to $3.12, right around that number, because of this technical line that Sui has made here. Okay, so that's where I see Sui heading, right there, $3.12. Now, if we were to talk about price today, we'll get into the 4-hour chart because it is in price discovery. Okay, so we got resistance, really. So we got some resistance there at $2.17. So we probably will break below that $2.17, and it's probably going to break and bounce on $1.91. That's probably where it's going to break and bounce on, because that's where the current moving averages are, and it tends to come down to its 100 moving average. You can see it did that there, okay, back in early October. And that's what happened here after it broke to its all-time high. It came down to its 100 moving average, so it's probably going to recede down there, right around, and stay in between this box here. That's more than likely what's going to happen. If it does fall below $1.91, because that's where it shows sort of support there and resistance, $1.91 as sort of a major. And if it breaks below that, it's looking at $1.84, $1.78, and then a nice gap down to $1.60, and then $1.50. That's where the support is. There's a little bit more below $1.40 and in between $1.30. And then ultimately, the major breakdown would be $1.17, $1.20. And that would be below its 365 moving average. To the 1-day chart, you can see there, these moving averages are looking absolutely parabolic and bullish as you can get, okay? So it is in a bull run and has been for a while, because you can see that this 200 moving day average is just tearing through and causing the 365 to actually come through the 200 moving average eventually. Once that happens, I would see price drop, but you could see this 100 now moving day average working its way through and eventually coming to that 200 moving average to even push up higher. So that's what it indicates is happening. So there's a little bit of a delay here. You can see as soon as it's crossing through that 365, it's showing a bit of a drop. But after that, it'll probably push up. On the 1-day chart here, this is an absolute bull run. You can see it's moving away from the 21 moving average, and then it usually comes back down to it to touch. So after, you can see here, after it breaks out, it likes to break away from its 21 moving day average, and then it comes back down to touch. If anytime it crosses back through it on the 1-day, I would be a little concerned and start looking at it then, but it hasn't yet. So for me, I'm staying away. I'm not buying any of this right now as it's gone parabolic. I would be buying if it came down to $1.70. Below this $1.91, but since it's broken above that, it's telling me that it wants to come up to $3. In this investment, there's just not enough growth right now, and there's a lot more altcoins to look at. That's all. But this is a great investment. So that's Sui coin right now. I do think it's very bullish. Do think it's heading to $3. That's where it's working its way up. You can see these moving averages are absolutely parabolic. So keep an eye on them. Be concerned, but probably will hit this trend line now that it's broken above. And again, if it does come down here, it's looking at $2.16, and then there is a gap down right to $1.91. But I do think it'll sit on that $1.91 area before breaking higher. So that's the short-term price. If it does keep going higher, it needs to break above $2.35. So that's Sui coin.